In today's video, we will be looking at the Senate map for the 2026 elections. The safe states for the Republicans include Idaho, Wyoming, South Dakota, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, and West Virginia. These are states that Republicans have traditionally won by huge margins in these type of scenarios. Looking at additional safe states for the map, Nebraska and Florida are also included in this column. However, they are barely above the 12-point threshold of being in the safe Republican column, with Nebraska only being a 12.4 percentage point victory due to the fact that Dan Osborne will be running as an independent, most likely being endorsed by the Democrat Party in this election, which will make the race much more competitive. However, I believe that the Republican in this seat will perform better than in 2024, given the fact that it is a much more popular Republican incumbent on the ballot. As well as in the state of Florida, we expect that Ashley Moody will win the state by 12.2% in our latest forecast. This gives us confidence to put it in the safe GOP column, as our safe margin is always a margin of above 12 points. Looking at the safe Democrat states, Oregon, Colorado, Illinois, as well as Virginia, Delaware, New Jersey, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts will all be in the safe Democrat column. Oregon being a 20.1 percentage point win for the Democrat candidate, Colorado being a 17.6 percentage point margin, Illinois being exactly a 15-point margin for the Democrat nominee, as well as Virginia being a 16-point margin for the Democrat, with Delaware at 22.5 points for the Democrat. Cory Booker winning re-election by about 13 points, as well as Rhode Island and Massachusetts being 25-point wins for their respective Democrat candidates, putting the Senate delegation at 44 Republicans to 42 Democrats, with all of the likely and below seats not being filled in as of right now. It's official. This is the third priciest stock market in over 150 years. The previous two didn't end well for investors. In fact, all 5 prior instances, stocks plummeted 20% to 89%. September is the worst performing month for the stock market. Meanwhile, gold has significantly outperformed the S&P for the past 20 years. Gold is up 600% over the past 20 years, and the S&P is only up 400%. Gold surged 40.5% in April of 2024 till April of 2025. Ray Dalio warns the world is on a verge of an economic heart attack. The U.S. collects $5 trillion and spends $7 trillion, and our debt is over $37 trillion. Ray Dalio says we are at the point of no return and recommends gold. Goldman Sachs and Vanguard warn of planetary returns for the S&P over the next decade. Forecasts for gold are as high as 7,000 an ounce, and silver is just getting started. Call the proud Americans of the Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. Mention On Point Politics, and you'll always get best-in-class service from Patriots protecting Patriots. Patriot Gold Group has a no-fee-for-life IRA, where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold and silver, and you may be eligible for the no-fee-for-life IRA on qualifying rollovers. Call 888-795-9430 for a free investor guide today. Patriot Gold Group is a Consumer Affairs top-rated gold IRA dealer 9 years in a row. Call 888-795-9430. For the likely Republican states, Alaska, Montana, Kansas, Iowa, and South Carolina all fall in this column. Republicans in these states have been doing traditionally well in presidential elections, with Donald Trump performing very well in the state of Iowa in the last couple of election cycles. However, without the Trump base turning out en masse, and with the Democrat national environment being about a D+4 national environment, according to our aggregate as well as the RCP aggregate, we clearly see that there is signs of disaster for Republicans in some areas, with the state of Kansas only being a 9-point win for the Republican, Iowa only being an 8.5-point win, as well as Lindsey Graham only holding on by 9 points in the state of South Carolina, with the Republican in Alaska holding on by 8.7%. And in Montana, Steve Daines will win re-election by presumably an 11-point margin in our forecast, giving Republicans just one seat shy of holding the majority, with Vice President J.D. Vance breaking any ties in the Senate map. Republicans in off years need the Trump base in order to perform well in these states. And a lot of these Republicans in these states aren't particularly popular with the MAGA base, including South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham and Iowa Senator Joni Ernst. A lot of these Republicans aren't exactly the most favorable with the working class electorate, and Republicans are going to need those voters to turn out in order not only to make those states safe Republican, but to even make seats like Illinois, Virginia, and New Jersey in the likely Democrat column. Looking at the likely Democrat states, New Mexico falls in this category at a 9.8 percentage point win. This is about a 3.5-point shift improvement from the 2020 cycle, where the Democrat only won by 6 points in that ballot. Looking at the state of Minnesota, we can see that the Democrat is expected to win by about 8 percentage points on the generic ballot, and is going to win a pretty big win and will outperform Tina Smith, who is an outgoing senator, by a pretty decent amount of like about 3 percentage points or so. So the state is trending to the left, and it will most likely end up voting in the likely Democrat column in the next election. The other likely Democrat state is New Hampshire, with it being about an 11-point margin of victory in this video. There is a candidate by the name of Scott Brown, who is a popular Republican candidate in New Hampshire politics, but I wait to see if there is new polling between the two nominees in order to make a general assessment of the electorate. If the polling is significantly closer, you will see that reflected in our later forecast. But as of right now, it seems like that race is going to go into Democratic hands. Looking at the last likely Democrat seat, Georgia actually falls in this category, despite some controversial positions that most, forecasters make. They have the race at lean D or toss-up. We currently have the forecast at a likely margin, given the fundamentals of the state trending left. Given the polling, given the national environment, it actually seems like Ossoff is on track to win his Senate race by about 9 percentage points in a 2026 election matchup. And this is even including Mike Collins in the race. As the national environment skews to the right and the polling gets better for the Republican, we could see this race potentially tighten as days go by or months go by. And once our inference models for Republican turnout and Democrat turnout come out, we may see this race change as time goes on. So there's a long time before we get to the final point of that race, but it does seem like there is a huge possibility that we are going to have that race be a lock for the Democrat Party in the 2026 elections. Looking at the only lean Democrat seat in Maine, Susan Collins is expected to lose re-election in our forecast by roughly about 2 percentage. It actually comes out to 4.7% in the final forecast here. And the reason why this is the case is because elections like these are very reliant on your base. The reason why Susan Collins outperforms here is not because she turns out extra Republicans, but because she's able to win over Democrats and independent voters. And without Donald Trump on the ballot like she had in 2020, and with her approval rating with MAGA Republicans going down, it does put her seat in very big jeopardy. And a new Democrat candidate by the name of Graham Planter is running for the seat and does seem to have more of a populist appeal. And so given all of these factors, I actually think that she is more than likely to lose her seat in the 2026 election cycle. Now, moving on to the lean Republican seats, Texas and Ohio are both under 6-point wins for the GOP, with the Texas seat being a 4.8 percentage point margin for Ken Paxton, who I expect to win the primary. And given some of the polling and demographic trends there, it does seem like he would underperform Cornyn in a generic matchup. And it will be a pretty competitive race in Texas. But I do expect, as the generic ballot gets more Republican and as the race will get more money involved and other demographics turn out, you may see the race be over a 6-point margin once again. And it looks like John Husted will beat Sherrod Brown by about 5 points in a head-to-head matchup. Right now, the polling has him winning by 6. And with other fundamentals in the national environment, it seems like a 5-point win is set for John Husted for this race as of right now. Looking at the final 2 seats on the map, the state of Michigan, for example, will end up being in the tilt Democrat column, with it falling in a 1.7 percentage point margin, so just below the lean column. It is barely a tilt state on the map. And Mike Rogers is expected to be the GOP nominee, but without Trump on the ballot, the base will be significantly decreased from the last election cycle. The only reason why he won't lose this seat by a lot of points is because of the fact that you have very unpopular Democrat candidates being the front runners for this seat. And so it'll still be a competitive race, but I really don't think that Mike Rogers is favored to win the seat as of right now. And looking at North Carolina, it narrowly goes in Republican hands by just 0.1%. Whatley, by beating all expectations, does seem to be able to take North Carolina in a very, very close matchup. It is really the only pure toss-up on the map, and it really could go in either direction. Roy Cooper could win this race, or Michael Whatley could. But as of right now, it is seemingly so that he will win this race by about 0.1 percentage points, and I do expect it to be the race with the most spending involved as of right now. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe if you want more content just like this. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section in order to get your opinions on where you think these races will go. I will see you guys in the next video.